Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 209 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and a two-time author. Our second book, From Letters to Leaders, Redefining New Member Education and Leveraging Belonging to Eliminate Hazing, is now available on Amazon. Go and pick that up today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring university students, college students together. And fun fact, before I was speaking on college campuses, I actually owned a website development and search engine optimization company before SEO was even a thing. They hadn't even come out with the name yet. And basically what happened was my mother-in-law, she actually had a litter of Mastiff puppies. These puppies are like over 200 pounds fully grown. And she needed to move them out because they were starting to get really big. I created a website, got her to the top of Google naturally, and the business absolutely took off. So you really never know where your next business idea is going to come from. Let's introduce our next guest, Rebecca Murtagh. She is an entrepreneur and a futurist with decades of business experience. I have to tell you about Rebecca. I'm going to brag a little bit on you today. You were recognized by Google Analytics as one of the 200 data-driven women in analytics in the world, recognized as one of the top business and marketing experts. You've got experience working with Fortune 500, Silicon Valley startups, multinational brands, small business owners, and everything in between. You're the founder and CEO of an award-winning digital consultancy. You're known as a thought leader, an expert and keynote speaker by entrepreneur.com, Money Magazine, O'Reilly Conferences, PubCon, PRSA, Search Engine Journal, which I read all the time, Web Marketing Association, Search Engine Watch, and numerous trade associations across so many industries. You're also the author of Success and Genius Within, Your Guide to Human AI, the Future of Work, Innovation, and Creativity Amidst the Greatest Disruption in Human History, which is absolutely fantastic. You're also the author of the book $1 Million Websites, based on 20 years of experience in e-business, e-commerce, and marketing on the World Wide Web. And you're an internet pioneer, basically a thought leader since the 1990s, always looking forward to helping others to leverage all of this emerging technology and trends to achieve their goals in a world that changes right before our eyes every single day. I am so happy to have you on the show. Welcome, Rebecca Murtagh.
Oh, Michael, thank you so much for having me. I can't even, wow, I don't think I've ever heard all that put together in one sentence. I'm impressed.
Listen, great. I mean, if you want me to come and introduce you on stage, I am available. Just pack me in your suitcase and we'll go travel the world together. What do you say?
I love it. I'm in. Let's do it. Let's do it. I love it. Yeah. So, I'm so excited to be here. I am so excited about the work that you're doing. I think it's fabulous. Your audience rocks. I'm just so happy to be here. So thanks for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here today.
Well, listen, we're fortunate to have you. I'm always looking to speak to thought leaders, and you're certainly one of them. Just to go back a little bit, in 2001, you founded this award-winning marketing firm called Corner Blue Marketing, which has been engaged by huge consumer brands, startups, and enterprises in all kinds of industries out there. And you've now earned this reputation for identifying new trends and opportunities for businesses and brands to leverage their brand and then grow market share. So in your opinion, this is something that might be a little bit controversial that we're starting out with right away, but could humans be almost like house pets to robots in the future? I mean, how worried should our listeners, our college student listeners, be about artificial intelligence?
Oh, let's jump right into it, Michael. I'm ready. Well, it's crazy because, for years and years and years, I'm a student of data. I love data. So I let data drive me wherever I'm going to go. And I started going down this rabbit hole and I started learning about how AI was actually changing not only how we work, but how we live. And then now it becomes part of every part of our lives, literally every part of our lives. But then I started reading some really ominous projections, and where they were coming from really caught me by surprise. So for example, Bill Gates has warned about the role of AI. Stephen Hawking, long before he passed, he was warning about the role of AI. And Elon Musk is the one that actually coined the phrase that we could turn into house pets for robots. So the interesting part about this, or I guess the dire warning of this, is that we are really at a pivotal point in life, and it is a controversial subject because the very people that are leading AI or artificial intelligence development are the very same people that are warning us about what could happen if it becomes smarter than us. And they call that the singularity. So if you've heard of that, you know what that means, but if you haven't heard it, Google it. But the idea is that at some point AI will become smarter than us, and it will be able to do anything that we can do better than we can. Now, if that's not scary enough, I don't know if you saw recently, there's even a way now for human cells to be AI in learning how to play Pong without a body. So this is like, we're entering a really crazy stage of human history. And now it's more important than ever that we really realize and embrace our humanity. And that's where I'm on a mission to help people understand the good, the bad, the ugly of AI, and how we can actually like navigate it and future-proof our lives and our businesses, careers, lives, help our kids, help our parents when they're aging, and everything in between.
I'm so glad that you're here to help explain all of this to us, because I'm sure a lot of our listeners are just like shocked listening to you talk about this stuff. Because if you read the news, they're talking about 400 to 800 million jobs that are going to be lost to artificial intelligence by 2030.
30.
So for all of the college students that are listening right now, how are their lives going to be impacted by AI?
Okay, well, let's just face reality that AI is going to change all of our lives. So it's really important for folks that are in college, just graduating, or even just choosing their major, realizing that they want to future-proof their plan. What you may be looking at as your ideal major may need to be tweaked, and be prepared to reinvent yourself. And that goes for everyone listening. Anyone that has a career will tell you, you have to reinvent yourself numerous times anyway. It's just part of being an adult and evolving, as they say, adapt or die. So you want to continually be evolving. So be prepared that you're going to have to pivot. But if you can do it now, before you lock your career in, before you're finishing your studies, and before you're choosing your career path, your future path, do a little bit of homework. And we're helping folks do that. We're offering some resources to help them figure out, life is short anyway. Do what you love. But it's even better if you can turn your career into that, and do it in a way that you're not going to be replaced by a robot in just a few years.
Yeah,
but you're right. And that projection was before the pandemic. I think it might be faster or sooner, or maybe more jobs.
I've really been thinking about this a lot. Maybe it's because my son is 17 and he's deciding on which college to go to and which major. But they invited us to a huge auditorium to do an open house at one of the colleges locally that he's thinking about attending. And they were dismissing all of the students by major so they can go and actually walk through the buildings and speak to the head of each department. Right. And at the end, it was a huge auditorium, okay? At the end, it was me and two other families. And they basically at that point dismissed, mathematics and data science, which is basically what he's thinking about. What? And I'm like, what? I'm like, why are more people not going into data science? It blows my mind. And sure enough, basically the head of the department was like, you know what, this is the future. Our students are graduating, with jobs right out of college at $120,000 a year starting salary. Like, there's so much demand, but unfortunately, a lot of students today, for whatever reason, they're just like scared of mathematics. They're scared of, what that looks like. And I'm like, there's no reason to be scared of it. Like, this is the future. Every company needs a mathematician, right?
Yes. Well, and a lot of mathematical equations, and some of that heavy lifting will be, and already has been, assumed by automation and artificial intelligence. Machine learning is accelerating those processes so fast. However, one of the most interesting parts of this, and even Elon Musk has said this, get an engineering degree. But, STEM, which is the science, technology, engineering, and math, a lot of folks do shy away from that. And interestingly, that shouldn't be the only focus, even for the folks that are in technology, because so many processes are going to be assumed by the machines. Now we need to because automation, the whole digital transformation age, which we've kind of just moved through, where everyone has digitized their business. Now we're moving into the AI age, or what I call the quantum age, and they actually are now having to catch up the human development. So now it's really important that we balance our science, technology, engineering, and math know-how, if you will, and invest in our human capacity, our human capital, if you will, our genius is what I call it, so that we're actually capitalizing on what humans do best. We're best at collaboration, innovation. So those skills are essential, but the human side of that is going to become more important than ever. And Elon Musk agrees on me finally on that. I've been talking about that for about 15 years as the digital transformation was ramping up. But, we really need, everyone needs to be, follow your aptitudes, find out what you really want to do, but also make sure you're being smart about, be a human, tap into your genius and make the most of that. So you are avoiding obsolete, becoming obsolete too fast.
Yeah, that's really important. But how come we haven't heard much about AI if it's really going to change the entire way that we live and work in the future, the way that you're suggesting?
Well, think about it. It's pretty scary stuff. I mean, some of the headlines have never made it outside the technology or science communities because this is life-changing. These are life-changing events, and they're being discussed on the world stage. For example, over 4,000 scientists have signed a letter and submitted an open letter and submitted, and Stephen Hawking signed it before he passed. But some of the greatest minds in artificial intelligence and technology and research have signed an open letter to the United Nations warning against AI and weapons. So you let your mind go where that might be. There's a very scary side of this. And I think because the race is on, the artificial intelligence race is on for profit and power, it doesn't really serve them right now to kind of make this mainstream. They don't want to freak people out because a lot of people just don't know what to do with it. So that's I'm kind of starting a little bit of a wave, if you will. I want people to become more prepared and empowered instead of just being surprised 5 years from now.
Yeah, you mentioned it before. You talked about future-proofing our careers and businesses if the world is going to be run by AI. How do we do that tactically?
Yeah, it's going to be unique for each person, because I really truly believe it is our humanity that makes us more valuable than a machine. Because right now they say about 25% of our daily processes are automated. And within 2 years, they're saying 50% of our daily work. So our tasks, things that we do day to day, 50% will be taken up by AI. But what are we filling that with? And so if we're not actually tapping into our natural gifts and talents and pulling and becoming smarter, I mean, clearly if brain cells in a petri dish can learn how to play Pong, there's so much we can do when we have, goals and ideas about what we want to be in, in our lives and how we want to affect humanity. It's very unique to each person, but there are ways we can do it. And that's the overall theme, is that we have to embrace our genius to really understand what we are uniquely best to offer to the rest of the world. But it's really important that we start doing that, because a lot of folks are just on autopilot. That's the one thing that we have to stop doing. People just need to stop being on autopilot. You don't just pick your career, go to work 9 to 5, go home, have dinner, and then play for the weekend. Be thoughtful about how you're investing your time, how you're planning your career, how you want to affect change, what kind of world do you want to live in? I mean, now's our time to really determine whether we do become house pets to robots, right?
Wow. This blows me away. What about all of our human freedoms? How do we protect that for
Oh.
ourselves and also for my kids?
And then we're on a slippery slope with that already for decades. And now this is actually how I got into this whole world, is studying Google and analytics and data, and being aware of how data was being processed, how it was being used. And originally, search engine results, you know this from your experience in your past, they were unique. You could actually create the same search result anywhere in the world or the country based on certain keyword queries. Now, every single person has a unique search engine result page, and they know who everyone is because of Google+. Now, think about that for a second. They've connected everyone in the world, and then they stopped. and they don't need to know anymore because everyone has Gmail and they know who your relationships are, and they had Google Voice. So they've gained all of this, and in all of this goes into their machine learning. So think about how smart they're becoming. So at the end of the day, moving all of that transition from how we become the generators of the data to the users of our data. We have to shift the equation, if you will, and not just be the people providing data for other people to, gain power and profit. We have to become smarter. And I go into that in detail in my book, how we have to become more aware, but also better consumers, but also become more assertive in how that information is used and how we can use it. We should be able to use that information for our own benefit, not just for the benefit of the big tech companies and government, right?
Mm-hmm. Let's make this real for the college students. Just yesterday, I was talking to the students at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. They have all kinds of goals that they want to achieve in their lives. So how can the college students who are listening right now achieve their life goals even faster with AI?
Oh, there's so many tools available. It depends on how you operate. So one of the things I will say is that there's one thing you should always do that's old school, because it's scientifically proven to increase your odds by a significant amount, scientifically proven, is that you should be handwriting your goals. And I know most people don't think of that because we do everything on our devices, right? Everything's on our phone or our iPad, on our calendar. We're talking to our car. So it's really important that we just take time. And even if it's just a notepad, you just write something down at the beginning of the day, but write down your long-term goals. And they have been significant. That one practice is significantly proven to increase your odds of actually achieving that goal and doing it faster than the people that never did it. And then from that point, you have to start thinking about, how do I get there? That's how you choose AI. Once you know what your goal is, figure out what the steps are and look for the tools that are going to get you there faster. Use AI to your benefit. Don't be afraid of it, but be the master of it. Don't let it master you.
I love that idea. I think just writing it down, there's some connection in your brain when you're actually manually with a pen
Yes.
writing down your goals and looking at that on a regular basis. I mean, that's the secret to a lot of my success, is actually actualizing it through written, notes on by hand. So I
Yes.
love that. I love that you're talking about that.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. Now, how can college students adapt their marketing strategies and all of the messaging that they're using on social media, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, whatever, in order to appeal to other virtual audiences and students in a post-pandemic world?
Yeah, I think, well, and we have to think about that. We're going to emerge from this mindset hopefully sooner than later. So we have to be thinking about that now. And even if we were to remain online, or if some people prefer to be online, right? So let's face it, but we have to be thinking about ourselves as brands. You are a brand, and your entire career, like you rattled off so much of my career and hearing it all in one sentence, but that becomes part of my brand. So you have to realize even things you did 20 years ago, and that's hard for college students to think about right now, but that becomes part of your story. So when you think of everything you're doing being part of your brand, think about, before you post something, does this reflect who I want to be seen as? Does it further my goals? Does it serve me? And there's two ways to get audiences, right? One is to be entertaining, and the other one is to be informative or educational. And if you're doing one of those two things, you're going to catch more eyeballs. People are going to be more interested in what you have to say. They're going to tune in more often. And then you create a bond. And that can be done online or in person, but you really want to connect with people. That's where we have to capitalize on that human genius. We really need to connect the dots. We're humans. Without that connection, we are nothing. So that's the most important part. Don't just broadcast, build relationships.
I like that a lot. I was actually talking to the students about that yesterday. We were talking about their branding on Instagram, and I mentioned to them, I said, all of you in this room are all fraternity, sorority leaders, and your values should be scholarship and academics, community service, brotherhood and sisterhood, chivalry, things like that. And I said, everything that you post on Instagram should match those values. And if I go
Exactly.
onto your Instagram now and I see a photo of 12 bottles of Everclear, that does not in any way connect to your values and of your organization. It's
Yeah.
just contrary to what it is that you're trying to build. And that's going to have an impact today on what other students and professors think about you. And that can have an impact on you 20 years down the line, right?
Well, and even employers are looking at social media before they hire, or even if you want to work with a not-for-profit, if you're a liability, they're gonna hesitate. So you really have to become aware that everything you do, and it's permanent. Even if you delete something, it is always there. It's always out there. There are ways to see things you can try, but you will never delete something you put on the internet. It's always cached somewhere on a server somewhere. So that's a fact.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. You're 100% right, Michael.
Let's talk about websites for a minute. You wrote the book $1 Million Websites, Build a Better Website Using Best Practices of the Web Elite in E-Business, Design, SEO, Usability, Social, Mobile, and Conversion. This is a book that industry experts and readers absolutely love. And there are many college students listening right now that are maintaining a website for their local chapter or their organization. What small changes do you advise that they should make to their website today in order to generate more leads, which are really students wanting to join their organization?
Yeah. One of the best things you can do is show your well, see, again, I'm going to talk about genius because it's not just about individuals. Organizations have genius too. So it becomes the brand of the organization, because people can bond with an organization or a business or a product. Again, scientifically proven. I talk about this when I speak at conferences. There's a oxytocin bond when people build an affinity for something that they're reading, or if it's coming from a brand or a business or an organization. So you want to be connecting with people. Find ways. What is it about the people you want to attract that would resonate with them? That's what you need to be speaking about. And what you put out, what is it they say? Your vibe attracts your tribe. So whatever it is that you're putting out there has to really be reflecting what you expect to get back. And if you're, whatever you're putting out there is what you're going to get back. So you have to be really mindful about how you're constructing your content. Frequently update, make sure you're using your RSS feed. That's, a lot of people just overlook that. The RSS feed is one of the easiest ways to get anything seen on Google. You can do it within minutes. It can take a year or two for a page to be noticed by Google, but an RSS feed that is clean and really easy to find. So that can be your podcast, your blog, your news, your newsletter, photographs, trying to get some content on there. But that's the easiest way to get out there. So if people are looking for, and they're comparing you with another organization, you always remember you're communicating with a human, right? You're winning hearts and minds. You want to connect with their logical side, but their heart is at the end of the day, because people make a decision in a split second, and everything they read or hear after that either confirms or denies that initial decision.
I love that. Speak to their heart. I mean, that's the way to do it. But, a
Yeah.
lot of these websites that I look at, I feel nothing. I'm like, you're not invigorating me. You're not exciting me about the future and joining your organization. And I think we have to ask that question, are you really speaking to their heart? If not, then you got to redo the website in such a way that you do it.
Yeah.
And then, there's a lot of videos out there right now in places like TikTok. Instagram Reels right now is taking off. So there's a lot of visibility there. It's really a big component of marketing to Gen Z students right now. So what advice do you have in terms of producing videos that convert and making more students want to join?
The rules don't change regardless of what platform you're on. Authenticity will always win. If you are being authentic and real, and again, if you're pushing out the right energy, the right, again, you're connecting with hearts and minds. But, like I said, there's two kinds: entertainment and educational. Everything else is kind of like white noise. So think about that, thoughtfully plan what you're going to do, and, and look back at the things that attract you and that you're going to see if they fall into one of those two categories, but you had an emotional reaction to it. So that's a really great way to start mapping out your content, and video, whether it's video or text or any other format, podcast or anything else. Just think about what you want people to feel when they're interacting with you. That's what you have to focus on.
That's great advice. I know Gen Z really wants to change the world and make it a better place.
Yeah.
So I think that's where you can connect with Gen Z, in my opinion. Show how your organization is making the world a better place. Capture your student organization in action, going out and cleaning the highway, or serving food in a soup kitchen to those who are less fortunate. I mean, those are things that people will connect with you on because you're making the world a better place. And obviously, you understand that you have some privilege. You're probably going to a higher education, place of learning that costs a lot of money to go to. Not everyone has that opportunity. So
Mhm.
how do we give back? How do we make sure that we spread that to other places where people are just less fortunate? And if you can do that, then I think you're going to connect with their hearts, and you're going to get other people to join that want to do the same type of activity.
Well said, and well said. And this generation is probably a little bit more in tune with that, because the whole business and corporate culture has fortunately finally shifted to empower that voice. So I think they're very fortunate to live in this time. They have to capitalize on it. This is the best time to actually be be evangelists for what they believe in, and connect with people that feel the same way. Really don't be afraid about sharing that information, what you're doing. And like you said, when you're doing good works, let people know, because they want to connect with that. They want to be part of that. People really do want to invest in something meaningful.
Yeah.
Meaningful is the name of the game.
Yeah. I also think you have to show with data how your organization is really the winning team, right?
Yeah.
So prove to me that you're really the best organization on campus. Show me the data that shows the GPA for your organization is significantly higher than the other organizations on campus. Show me the graduation rate in your organization is significantly better than the general student body. Show me, the amount of money that you raise, not just the dollar amount, but where is that money going? How is that making your community better because you raised $100,000 in the community? If you can do all of those things, they're going to be flooded with leads of people who want to join your organization. But you really have to think about some of those things.
And even some of the best kept secrets, if you're a smaller organization, or maybe you're just not well celebrated, but you are doing good works, celebrate what you've done well, and use what you have. That's what I always tell my clients. You don't have to compete with the other guy. You are unique. You will appeal to the right people if you're putting the right information out there. So don't be afraid to share what you have, even if it's only a little bit. As long as it's good stuff, people will respond. So I think you're right on with that. Right on.
That's great. I absolutely love this conversation. This is fantastic. I know the students are going to love it. You're living in the Phoenix area, and I have to tell you, we do really like good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. So the next time I end up in Phoenix for some university program, which might be coming up soon, where should I go to eat? Where do you like to go to eat?
Okay, so I moved here a year ago from New York. I love New York pizza. I love Grimaldi's in Scottsdale. I'm sorry, it's just like, it's coal oven fired pizza, old school, sit on the patio, watch people walk by. It's just like one of my nice chill spots. I highly recommend that.
I love it. Rebecca, you and I are twins. I was born in New York City, so I understand the value of a good slice of pizza.
Yes.
Bagels also are another really good
Yes.
thing. I can't find any of it in Nashville. Nothing that's, really
Oh no.
noteworthy. So it's so depressing to me.
Oh no. Well, you come out, I'll meet you in Scottsdale. We'll have a pie.
All right, that sounds good to me. So if our listeners, if they want to book you to speak on their college campus to talk about AI and what that means for the future and what changes they need to make maybe in their majors and their careers, perhaps they're looking for additional training, or maybe they want to pick up your new book. This one is called Unleash Your Genius. Where should they go in order to connect with you and find all of this great stuff?
You can go to RebeccaMurtagh.com, and we are also launching GeniusFoundry.com, which will have a lot of the educational and coaching and some of that information related to the book. The book is coming out in late February. It'll be available on Amazon and all your favorite bookstores. But everything you can find everything on my website. So RebeccaMurtagh.com.
I love it. Make sure in February you go and pick up that book, Unleash Your Genius. Rebecca Murtagh is RebeccaMurtagh.com. And what can I say? I really appreciate you being here on the show and clearing up everything that's going on with AI, because it's really hard to get a handle on it. We're not talking about it enough. There's a lot of technical language and lingo that, keeps us from really understanding what's going on. So thank you for making sense of it all.
Oh, I don't know. It's only the beginning. It's changing every day, but I'm happy to start having the dialogue, Michael. This has been such a pleasure. It's been so great. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this talk about AI and you think other college students need to listen to Rebecca's words, make sure you like it. Make sure you share it on social media so that way other students get the same opportunity to hear what's coming in the world of AI. So thank you so much. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to Rebecca. We'll see you on another episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next
bye.
time.